Thank you, Mr. Berthold. Members will be recognized by order of seniority for 5 minutes of questioning. An additional round of questioning may be called after all members have been recognized. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Mr. Landrum, would you clarify for the committee and for the Americans that are watching regarding drone technology? In my limited time, it's just what I'm going to focus my questions on for you gentlemen. Regarding drone tech and anti-drone tech, will you explain the difference between defensive and offensive capabilities for anti-drone technology for America?
Yes, sir. When it comes to CUAS capabilities, which is what you're referring to, there are two big portions of that. One of them is the ability to detect, track, and identify a drone that is flying in an airspace that is being covered by that particular technology.
This is what I'm referring to is, not to interrupt, but that's what we would call defensive drone technology. Would you explain offensive drone technology?
Yes, sir. That side of it is referred to as mitigation. And mitigation can take forms of radio frequency, so via jamming, radio frequency jamming. It also could be kinetic, and just depends on the situation. Inside the United States, kinetic is not used.
So for radio frequency interruption for a drone that's been observed by a law enforcement professional on the front line as a suspicious drone, a criminal drone, the defensive technology of our anti-drone capabilities is that we can track those drones and we can show the history of that flight, we can identify that drone, but the full capability of anti-drone technology, I bring this up for my colleagues across the aisle primarily, because what the administration has been telling us, what the Secretary of Homeland Security has been telling us, that we're using that anti-drone technology, but he's only telling you the half-truth. He's using the defensive capabilities of our anti-drone technologies, not the offensive capabilities or the mitigation capabilities. So when you talk about radio frequency interruption, you're talking about landing that drone, correct?
What we were talking about with jamming, with radio frequency jamming, which can be band jamming, spectrum jamming, in some cases, or some technologies.
What happens to that drone?
What you're doing is you're breaking the connection between that drone and its pilot.
Right, so what happens to the drone itself?
The drone generally, in every situation, is different. Every single environment is different, and what's available mechanically is different. But generally what happens is one of three choices. Either one, that drone will be disrupted, it won't know what it's doing, so it'll return to its home location automatically. Two, it could just come straight down to the ground. Or three, if the right circumstances existed, you could actually take control of that drone. You could take control of it.
So in the interest of time, I'm trying to get to here, the offensive capability of our existing anti-drone technology allows us to disconnect a criminal drone from its operator and take control of it, either because we land it or we actually seize control of it. Is this a technology that we currently have?
We do have very limited amounts of that technology.
Okay, Sheriff, long ago, when I was a young police officer, 20 years ago, I think it was 2005, one of the more interesting things that happened that week, we had a armed robbery, high-speed chase. You know, I happened to be involved. I was able to force the suspect's vehicle to crash. In the process, crashed my own car, but made the arrest. When the supervisor showed up pretty quickly, my crash patrol car and that crash suspect car was not treated with a typical Louisiana Uniform Motor Vehicle crash report. That it was treated as a criminal, as a part of a law enforcement action in that response to criminal activity. So the crash itself was documented in our investigative report. not in a typical uniform motor vehicle crash report, because it was a law enforcement action. On our border, when law enforcement uses the offensive capabilities of our existing technology to bring down a drone, this administration wants to treat that law enforcement action as a crash to be investigated by FAA. So this is something we have follow-up questions we're going to deliver in writing to you, gentlemen. But it's an area where I believe that this committee can come together and address the common sense difference between a law enforcement action where a drone is taken down using existing technologies that we have versus an aircraft crash that requires investigation by FAA. My time has expired, but my interest in this topic has not. I yield to the ranking member.